Yo, what's up everyone? Voss get up. This is Valoramous, and today's DJ tutorial I'm going to discuss how to program songs within your Rekordbox DJ software. So as a DJ, when you first drop a track within your Rekordbox, the software is going to analyze that track, and then I'm going to show you my process for how to properly annotate the track with various cue points, how to identify the one beat, how to adjust the one beat if the software incorrectly reads the track, and then how you should think about this track prior to mixing in the track into one of your DJ sets. So we're gonna hop into Rekordbox DJ software. I'm gonna show you my process for programming a track from scratch. Yo, what's up? Welcome to my tutorial on how to properly program tracks in Rekordbox DJ software. So this is how the interface looks like for Rekordbox DJ software. If you've never used this software, it is somewhat complex, but after a couple of months of utilizing the software, you will become accustomed to using the software, and then it'll become that much easier. But as a DJ that previously used Serato, it was somewhat of a jump to this, but it wasn't that difficult because a lot of the functionality is the same. But this system is a bit more sleek. It's more fine print and detail. Serato, much more of a common platform for any DJ to immediately access. I think Rekordbox DJ is a bit more professional of a software. It has a much more sleek design, and it just has an overall pleasing aesthetic. It's a more business-like aesthetic. So when you first drop into a track, like Serato, Rekordbox DJ software will analyze that track. So I'm going to show you what I do when I drop these tracks. So if I have these tracks, I'm going to drop in two of my tracks that I recently mastered. So you're going to see what happens when you drop these tracks in and the system analyzes them. So I'm going to drop in this track, and then we're going to drop in my other track. And as you can see here in this second column, it's analyzing the tracks. Alright, so we're going to do these one at a time, but I will give you two examples on analyzing these tracks and then how you should properly program the track when you drop these into your software. So this first track of mine is at 132 BPM, and when you first drop in this track, as you can see, it actually properly aligns the beat with the red bar, which is this one beat, with the actual one beat. But there's a way to change this. This system right here, this setting right here is set the first beat of a bar to the current position. So if you need to set the beat of a first bar to say right here, you can do this, and then you'll click this white and red line button, and then you'll watch this red line snap to the grid and it'll move over. So if I do this, it has just shifted the one beat, a one beat or quarter bar to the right. Now that's obviously not right, but for the sake of this demonstration, sometimes when you drop tracks into the software, it will be incorrectly analyzed or incorrectly annotated. You may have to actually do this because, as an example, sometimes tracks will start with vocals and then the software will become confused on where is the one beat, and then it is on you as the DJ to know where that one beat is at. And this will only come through time. If you're a brand new DJ, you will hear more and more tracks, more and more music, vocal tracks, drum tracks, etc. in various genres, and then you'll be able to immediately identify the one beat. But this is really DJing 101 in terms of finding the one beat. So you can do this, change that one beat. I'm going to change it back. Let me go back right here. Now, when I first analyze my tracks, the first thing that I do is identify that one beat and identify the mixing point. So the mixing point right here is going to be this first beat right here. And this is basically the first beat of the intro. Now I know this track is only 4 bars in intro, so my second cue point is going to be the start of that first verse. So the first beat of that first verse, and that's my second cue point. Now this is when this track should be playing exclusively, and the previous outgoing track will be out of the mix. So right now this is really just a drill in identifying your hotkeys, identifying your cue points. But this is how I analyze the track, and this is how I program my tracks. The third cue point for me is always the first beat of that first chorus or first drop. And then the fourth cue point is the first beat of the second chorus or second drop. Now sometimes there'll be a third chorus or third drop in these songs, and that'll be my fifth cue point. If not, my 5th cue point will actually be the first beat of that outro section, if there is an outro, and we always hope there is an outro section. And then those are my 5 cue points. So you have intro, you have first beat of the first verse where that track should be playing exclusively. You have the first drop, the second drop, and then you have the outro. Those are my 5 main cue points, because usually most tracks now only have 2 choruses or drops, and that's because music is becoming shorter and shorter with the advent of Spotify and other streaming services. There's not as much of an incentive for artists to produce a song that's longer than playing when a shorter track to get the job done. Now, I also have some miscellaneous cue points. My 6th cue point is usually halfway through that second drop, so if I'm going to start to mix into a track, maybe at a different section of the song, and maybe it's halfway through that second chorus or second drop when I know maybe it's either becoming repetitive or there's a slight change in the song, but I'm safe to start to mix in the incoming song that I may mix in the track a little bit earlier. That's my 6th cue point. And then my 7th cue point is generally going to be a loop. And this is what I like to do. I like to have this either here or here. We'll just do it for this last one over here. And then I will turn on this active loop. So when the music arrives at this point, this loop will turn on. So I'm gonna play this real quick and just see what this does. You see that loop, it activated without me even touching any buttons. So that will allow me, it'll buy me time so that I can mix in the incoming song. So I don't even have to mix in that song at the start of that outro section. I can just wait for the loop to come on and then mix it in. But this loop also gives me time because I can also hop on the mic, I can make an announcement. It gives me more time to mix in that incoming track. And it also means I don't have to do as much on the DJ decks because oftentimes maybe this outro section might not be as long as the intro of the incoming song, and you want to have this loop in order to bridge the gap between maybe a 4 or 8 bar outro section of one song versus a 16 bar intro section of another song, and this is primarily for EDM genres. So those are my 7 cue points, and that is the first example of Valoramous track. Now I'm going to give you one more demonstration. We are going to do another track with a different BPM, so maybe this will analyze slightly differently. Let's see what this one looks like. Alright, so it's a hard dance track. The BPM is 75 or 150 as compared to 132 with the previous track. Now, the first beat of the drop is right here. I could, well, first off, I can start inputting my cue points. This is generally what I do, but I could move the one beat over. Now what that will do though is it will shift slightly right here, so it's going to be slightly different. I generally do not do that though, just because usually when I'm mixing, I just like to start with that red line on the first beat of that track where I plan on mixing the track. So I'll start right here, but again, I'm going to start the second cue point when the vocals start. So right here is about when I want to have that second cue point. Now, the drums are not overly powerful at this section, so what that means is I don't necessarily have to have this track playing exclusively. I could have the outgoing song still playing, but I'm going to adjust my volumes and the equalizer knobs in order to make sure that these vocals are front and center of the mix when these vocals are actually playing, because you do not want the vocals to be too quiet in the mix when this song is going on. So again, we're going to find the fourth cue point, which is the next drop, and then we're going to find that outro section. So the outro section is right here. And then again, we can do here we go. And we'll do one more. This is the halfway point of the second drop. So now you've seen two examples of tracks and how I program these tracks. Again, what you need to pay attention to most is that one beat. You want to find that one beat as quickly as possible. Like, let's say, for example, the one beat is right here, which maybe you want to scratch and you want to have this light kick drum be your one beat. Well, again, go to this displays BPM/grid adjustment buttons and auto gain adjustment knob. Click here, and then you're going to click this button right here, and that moves over the one beat. And lastly, if the BPM is incorrect, which it might be slightly off, you can adjust the BPM right here, and that will actually correct the BPM slightly. So let's say this track said 74.92, and you know it's 75. Well, you can just adjust it right here, and that will allow you to do that. So this is my process for programming tracks. It's not rocket science, but it could be confusing if it's your first time doing it. So go back to DJing 101. The most important thing is to understand where that one beat is at, and that's where you want to put that red tick line. And you want to do this because if you're playing a club gig where you're going to be exporting music onto a thumb drive and then sticking in that thumb drive into CDJ 2000s, 2000 Nexus 2s, or 3000s, you want to properly program music within Rekordbox prior to exporting music onto that flash drive, because you won't have enough time to do this on the fly during a live gig, a live performance gig, when you may only have an hour or 2 hours on stage and be entertaining the crowd. You want to do as much prep time prior to going on stage, that when you export the music, you are ready to go and rock the crowd when you get on stage. So there you have it. That is my process for programming tracks with Rekordbox DJ software. If you think I'm forgetting something, please leave those in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video.
3, 2, 1, lose it.